Hello guys, thanks for joining me. Today I thought I'd show you my deactivated MP40. It's a Maschinen and Pistole 40, came out in 1940, replaced the MP38 that was produced just before the war. And there were about 1 million of these made in total, and this is my particular example here. It's a modern EU deactivation example. It's quite a nice display model for my collection. There's a few things wrong with it. It's not a match in numbers example for one thing, and as you can see, the sling swivel is on the left side instead of the right side of the weapon. But anyhow, it's still a nice example, and I thought we'd just have a closer look at it. It is maker marked on the back of the receiver there. I'll take the photograph, but you can just about see perhaps an MP40 has the code for Steyr, so it's BNZ43, and there's the serial number there. So, having said it's a Steyr, it's not exactly 100% Steyr. It's actually two machine guns, submachine guns put together. Obviously, the original ones were damaged and they were fixed up into one working example here. So, as I say, the back says BNZ for Steyr, so the end cap, the pistol grip, the shoulder stock, and the plastic furniture is all Steyr. However, the barrel nut, the magazine housing, and the receiver is a Werker example. There's no date on the Werker top receiver, but it has the 1942 introduced safety feature there. So you can see the cocking lever has a little switch that goes into the receiver to lock it into place, and that was introduced in the summer of 1942, so at least it was made between 1942 and 1944, I would imagine. And he has a very nice example of the submachine gun. So it's quite a heavy machine gun. It weighs slightly more than a deact replica. This particular one here weighs about 4 kilogram unloaded. A live firearm with a loaded magazine would have weighed around 10 pounds. This weighs just under 9 pounds. It's about 24 inches in length with the stock folded. The barrel itself is just under 10 inches in length. And from top to bottom here is about 10.5 inches, so it's quite a long machine gun, submachine gun. A bit difficult if you're lying prone, I would imagine, but quite an effective weapon. It fired a 9mm by 19mm parabellum round and had a cyclic rate of about 500 rounds per minute, so it was very popular with the troops that it had been issued to. It was issued to Wehrmacht troops, the SS, and also frontline personnel of the RAD, the Reichsarbeitsdienst, and also in the organization TOT, the construction workers. So anyone out in the front lines would have been issued one of these. They were mostly issued to, having said that, to squad leaders, platoon leaders, and the like. And there were about 1 million of these made, just over 1 million, and there were about just over 50,000 MP38s made, and the rest of them were the MP40 model, which is the one that I've got here. So as I say, it's a basic cheap submachine gun. It would have cost about 60 Reichsmarks back in the day in World War II, and 60 Reichsmarks, the equivalent nowadays, is about $450 US. Has a 32 round magazine. The magazine is also marked here. Mine is dated 1942. It contained 32 rounds, but it's not the best magazine. It's a double stack magazine going onto a single feed on the top here, and that caused a few issues with the Germans. So a lot of German soldiers actually only loaded 28 rounds into the magazine to put less pressure into the springs on top here, so less chance of it jamming. As you can see, the sling swivels on the left-hand side. The Germans tended to have it on the right-hand side. That's the way the submachine guns came out of the factories, and I've never seen a photograph, a period photograph of a German soldier with the sling on the left-hand side. I think that's more a post-war thing, though I have read a few accounts of some senior NCOs having done just that. And the Germans call the sling on the left side the partisan method of carrying. I'm not quite sure exactly why, but I would imagine because the Russian partisans were equipped with the PP-Shahs and they had the sling on the left-hand side, so perhaps that's the reason. But as I say, all factory fresh submachine guns came with the sling on the other side. I'll get a sling for it eventually. I do have a reproduction sling here. This is a one sling that I bought from Epic Militaria. It fits the gun quite nicely actually, but I think they were really moved onto the left side in the 1960s when they started making all these crappy war films, TV shows and war films, and they found that if you were shooting the machine gun from the hip with the sling around your shoulder, and if you were right-handed, it fired better with the sling on the left side. They found that if the sling's on the right side and you were firing from the hip with the sling over your shoulder, the sling went over the ejection port and could sometimes cause the spent cartridges to fall back into the port and cause jams. I've also seen some photographs of U.S. soldiers in early Vietnam, so we're talking about special forces in the early days of the Vietnam conflict with the sling on the left-hand side, but anyhow, it doesn't bother me one way or the other. It's still a nice item. And it's in pretty good condition, as you can see. I can't do it with one hand. It's a bit stiff here, but the bolt still moves, so I'll maybe move it here. Just put my knee on it, and you can see the bolt does go back. It doesn't have a shear in it, obviously. It would have locked in about that position here if it had the shear, and then once you release the trigger, it would have slammed the bolt forward. Again, a bit difficult, but it actually has the original bolt in it, and you can see into the breech there. So as I say, it is marked on the top here for Steyr, and you may be wondering, how do I know that it's a Werker top receiver and barrel? Well, it has Waffenamt markings on the items, and they tell me that it's a Werker made receiver and barrel. Actually, when I say the serial numbers don't match, the bottom and the top don't match, obviously, because they're two different guns. But having said that, the receiver, the magazine housing, the barrel nut, the barrel itself are all the same serial number, and everything in the back here is the same serial number as well. So as I say, it's just two submachine guns put into one. Obviously the armor one had the bottom hand grip assembly damaged, whereas the Steyr would have had the receiver or the barrel or something damaged, and they just swapped over the parts. Again, it's a bit difficult doing it with one hand, if you just bear with me. Right, I've just opened up the shoulder stock. As I said, the machine gun itself, the submachine gun, is 24 inches in length. With the stock open, it's a total length of about 33 inches in total. It's quite a heavy machine gun. As I say, it weighs about the same as a K98, but because it's a smaller package, it's more solid. It's more concentrated in one little unit here, as you can see. Quite a nice little item, as I say. So it's a simple blowback submachine gun, and as I said, the little sleeve on top of the cocking lever here was added onto these submachine guns in the summer of 1942. What they found is that if, for example, you drop the rifle on the submachine gun onto its back, it could cause the bolt to fall back just far enough to take off a round from the magazine and slam forward into the breech and fire in the weapon. Which I mean is, it would have gone back just enough so it could pick up a round, but not far enough back to catch on the shear. So by having that little sleeve here that fits into the top receiver cover, like that, means that the bolt doesn't move. Otherwise, the only safety is the one up here. Again, it's a bit difficult with one hand, but there you go. It just fits into there, as you can see. A bit difficult to see, but the actual bolt, as I say, is in there, but it's been cut back. So there's a little bit missing here. There's about 2 inches of the bolt on the left side missing. The one on the right side is there. There's also a bar, as you can see, going over the magazine port. It doesn't interfere with the magazines, thankfully, but there's a metal bar there which goes into the breech, into the barrel. The barrel is obviously blocked, and that would stop any live bullets going into the barrel if you were trying to, I guess, bore it out or whatever. That's the back of the bar has been soldered on or welded onto the ejector, which is there. The ejector is actually that bit here. If you ever wondered what that little knob here is, that is actually the hardened ejector, which goes through the housing and ends up in there. It has open sights. There's 2 leaf sights on the back. The back side is a open leaf, and the front one is 100 meters, and the back one is 200 meters. And then there's a post front sight there, as you can see. It's protected with a protector there. The effective range of one of these MP40s would have been about 70 to 100 meters. So very useful for house-to-house combat, close quarter combat, that kind of thing. This particular one here is welded. That's the knob here. You would have pulled that out and turned it, rotated it to strip the weapon, but this one here has the upper and lower welded together. The barrel and the barrel nut is also welded, so you can't get that out. That's the barrel nut here. You can see it's a later one. It only has the 2 grooves with the special spanner for removing the barrel. The earlier MP38s and the early MP40s had a hexagonal nut. As you can see, that just has a 2. It is maker marked, as I say, in the back there. There's also some rough and up markings there. You can see there's the serial number on the folding stock there. You won't be able to see it, but there's a very beautiful eagle just on the housing there, on the magazine housing. Otherwise it's marked on the top and on the barrel here. You can also see where it's been crimped. The trunnion has been welded into the receiver and then crimped into place here, so you get these 2 crimp marks here. The machine gun, submachine gun, would have been used originally for motorized units, which is the reason for that little hook here. Would have been designed to fit over the a truck, for example, or armored car or something. Stop when you're firing, stop the recoil, and end up what am I trying to say? You basically stuck the barrel on the side of a truck or armored car or something, and that would have prevented the machine gun slipping into the interior of the vehicle when you're firing with the recoil. So as I say, this is the MP40, which is the modified version of the MP38, and this one was designed to be simpler in manufacture. So basically what you've got here is cheap carbon steel, which is just rolled into shape, and there's no major machine working on it except for the barrel and the bolts. The pistol grip and the stock here, the hand grip here, is a kind of a phenolic resin, basically kind of a what did they used to call it? Oh, for goodness sake, I've forgotten the name now. But it's a early plastic Bakelite, that's what it is. So you can see it's slightly mottled in appearance, and that's because there's paper fibers in the resin. The steyr part of the submachine gun that I've got has been painted at some point black. You get the black here, whereas the Armorwerker is in the metal, which is quite common. Both were used extensively during the war for the production of MP40s. And as you can see, it's in pretty good condition. There's no major damage or anything to it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on the reproduction sling, and we'll have a look at it with a sling on. As I said, I'm going to get a original sling at some point, but in the meantime I've got a quite a good quality reproduction sling, which is the correct size, and we'll just put that on just now. So that's the deact with the reproduction sling on it, and this is the way that I like it. The official way that the Germans had was to have the buckle here on the front sling swivel and that bit here on the back here, but you'll see a lot of photographs of soldiers wearing it this way, and one reason is that if you had this part on the back here, there was a tendency for the end of the sling, especially when it's stiff and new, to poke you in the eye every time you took the gun to your cheek. So that lessens the chance of you getting your eye poked. So this is the way I like it, and it's quite a nice sling for the time being. And as I say, I'll get a proper one probably next year. So anyhow, I think that's probably it for now. So that's the MP40 submachine gun, deactivated to the EU, I should say, deactivation specifications. Talking about specifications here, this is actually the second time it's been deactivated. There are 2 deactivation marks on this particular item. It was first deactivated back in 1998, and I would imagine at that time it would have been a cock and click example. You would have been able to field strip it and everything else. And then it was deactivated again in July of this year, so it's only been deactivated again about a couple of months ago or so to the current standard. So now you cannot, as I say, strip it. Bolt has been cut, you can no longer dry fire it. But it's still in very good condition, as you can see, and I don't have any problems with the way it's been deactivated at the moment. As I say, it's just an item from my collection here. I'm not a reenactor or anything like that. Well, I guess that's that. As I say, just a little look at my MP40. It's quite a nice item, both if you're interested in the Second World War and also in the Cold War period. These were used extensively after the war by various countries. They were widely shipped out to Vietnam, for example, used by both sides. They were used by U.S. Green Berets back in the early 1960s in Vietnam. They were used in Norway and Denmark. And in fact, believe it or not, they're still used nowadays. I've seen photographs of militia units in Ukraine using these. So that's militia, not soldiers, but nevertheless, they're still in use nowadays. So 1 million of these have been made. Many of them were lost and damaged and destroyed. So I'm quite pleased to have my particular example here. As you can see, it's a mid-war production example. You can see with the reinforcement ridges on the magazine housing, for example, and the 2 ridges on the magazine for strength. So it's a nice item. Anyhow, I'll leave it at that. The video is getting a little bit too long, so as always, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and bye for now.